Hello and welcome to the 2023 Cincinnati Reds season preview. I'm going to look at roster construction, some of the trades they made the last couple seasons, and how their overall roster translates to the hobby we all know and love of baseball cards. Some offseason additions they're pretty light. Nick Solak, Kevin Newman. Early spring training ad they made, trade with the Guardians, Will Benson. Some catching depth with Luke Maile and Kurt Casale. They brought in veteran Will Myers, who's midseason trade candidate in my opinion, Luke Weaver to eat some innings, and Chad Pinder for some outfield depth. As much as their signings were light, their losses were light too. Donovan Solano, Jeff Hoffman, Justin Wilson, Colin Moran is gone, Mike Minor's no longer with them, and Mike Moustakas, who I believe is now in Colorado. The Reds finished with 100 losses last year, 62-100, not good if you're into winning. Season storylines, this team is all about youth and some exciting roster, announcements or updates throughout the season. The pitching staff centers around three relatively unproven guys, but people who were in baseball generally are very excited about. Look at Hunter Green, guy can throw 100, just absolute powerhouse. Nick Lodolo, who's finally coming into his own. And Graham Ashcraft to a lesser extent, but a guy that we're still excited to watch, and will be interesting to see how he develops this year as well. And also, what we're interested in seeing this year from the Reds is how did their trades of the last two seasons work out? At the deadline last year, I felt like they really maximized their returns. And now I'm looking at this more from a baseball card standpoint, because when they made the trade for Luis Castillo and they brought in like Noel V. Marte seemed like a guy that was untouchable and a future infield stud for the Mariners. So when that trade went through, that was really exciting. They also traded away Tyler Naquin, Phillip Deal, Tommy Pham in a smaller deal, but they were just trying to extract any value that they could. Sent Tyler Mahle to Cincinnati, to Minnesota, who brought pretty much their spring training darling in Christian Encarnacion-Strand. And they also traded Brandon Drury for Victor Acosta, who is another just like bigger baseball card name. He still needs to produce on the field and develop a little more. But as of right now, I like what they did. It seems like a lot of exciting moves, all balled into one mid-season trade deadline. I'm super excited to see what they could do. Their starting rotation is actually kind of deep. I know it sounds weird to say it's deep with unproven guys, but they have 8 to even 10 guys that could make starts for them this year if they needed them to. Their opening day starter has already been announced. It's Hunter Green. He's a 2022 Topps Update rookie. Again, I'll mention that. Said a lot, one to look at. And then his first Bowmans were in 2018 Bowman. One thing I do like about Green that is completely unrelated and has nothing to do with baseball is his signature. He has absolutely beautiful penmanship, and I personally have tried to grab an auto of his just for the overall look of it. And sometimes he signs his last name Green with a money sign. And if you haven't seen it, now's the time where I should put it up on the screen, but go look it up. It's just a really beautiful signature, and for players in baseball right now, a lot of them don't sign very well, and they're signing so many autographs that someone who takes the time to put a really good signature down has my respect. So Hunter Green, good for you, good for us. If you're into collecting autographs, grab a Hunter Green. He sat with arm fatigue towards the end of last season, which is such a vague answer. Arm fatigue, he had a shoulder soreness is another thing they called it. I like to see that in the fact that he is willing to recognize that his arm was tired. He is the one that brought it up, said his bullpen didn't feel good, so he wasn't pushing through anything in a season that didn't matter. I don't want to see him hurt, obviously, but I like to see that he can recognize, hey, right now isn't when I need to push through maybe a lingering thing or something that isn't serious and I could pitch through. I don't have to right now. But when he came back, he was very good. In his last 4 starts, he had 2 10K games and only gave up 2 earned runs over those 4 games. So I think he really showed what he could do at the major league level in those 4 starts and why there's so much hype around him. Also, not to mention he throws literally over 100 miles an hour. And for someone who has a fastball that electric, it is pretty hittable. He doesn't have a huge spinning fastball, so it's not going to miss a lot of bats. It doesn't cut, but he does get it up there. And then to temper expectations a little bit, he is kind of only a 2-pitch pitcher. He has a fastball and a slider, and then a changeup that he throws maybe 5% of the time. So I want to see him develop that changeup or another pitch, maybe a curveball that breaks a little more than that slider, something to just keep hitters off balance a little better. If he does that, I think he could make strides into a very, very good pitcher instead of right now just like an exciting pitcher with good prospect pedigree. Nick Lodolo, probably their number 2 starter, and in my opinion, my personal favorite of this group. The reason I like him so much, he's a command-first pitcher. I will say that over and over again, and he's in 2022, Topps update, crazy, I know, and then also 2019 Bowman draft. So 2 of my favorite sets in the last 5 years as far as the depth of the prospect pool. 2022 Topps update and 2019 Bowman draft. Nick Lodolo's in both. I mentioned in one of my videos that I would talk tell you if I had a lot of stock in a player, and I have a little bit of stock in Lodolo. A couple 22 update parallels. I have a black and some Bowman Sapphire hanging around from 2019 Bowman draft. So take everything I say about Lodolo with a grain of salt. Left-handed pitcher who averages 95 on his fastball. That's a really good fastball from the left side. And like I said, with good command, that's a good combo that I want to see. Really good slider. He also throws a changeup and a curve. Again, he's one of those guys that doesn't use those very much. Maybe 10% on either one. But if he can develop a third pitch, same thing I just said with Green. If he could develop a third pitch, I'd be a lot more excited about him as well. Good accuracy, good command. And he has a player profile or pitcher profile that I like to target. I call it the Bieber profile at this point because it's a pitcher who is just command first with decent velocity. I'm not looking for someone to throw 97, 98 and have good command. That's, too good to be true. But I also don't want a guy who's throwing 90, 91 with good command. I want that 93 to 95 specialist who can pinpoint it when he needs to. Why I target those players is because I was right on Bieber. And one of the reasons I was right is because I target command first. And, not to toot my own horn, but I have predicted a Cy Young winner, at least one of them in the last 3 seasons. So I'm not saying, go buy Lodolo, he's going to win a Cy Young. But the reason I'm so high on him is because this profile is something that I really look forward to. Mid-90s fastball, good command, and a player who, if he wasn't in Cincinnati, which is a very hitter-friendly ballpark, would probably be a lot higher on people's lists and someone we were excited about. More on Lodolo. He had 11.41 K per 9 last year, right on pace with Green. So a guy that throws 5 mile an hour slower was pacing his teammate in strikeouts. That's always good. His walk rate was higher than I expected for a guy who I'm just touting his command. If he can bring those walks down, he'll be right in line with where I want him to be. And then, unfortunately, with bringing the walk rate down, he'll probably bring his K rate down too. And the reason for that, if you start pitching in the zone more, you're probably going to get hit more. So you're going to have a little less swing and miss. I'm assuming that he's a guy who's trying to nibble a little bit on the edges, and instead of giving in to hitters, he would rather walk them than give up a home run. So if he starts to walk a few less people, I think the Ks are going to go down as well. But if he can still keep his strikeouts at 1 per inning and those walks go down, maybe a little bit more, I would be very, very happy with that. He, again, was another player who had a really good end of the year. His last 6 starts were very strong. Not as good as Green, but if you were a Cincinnati Reds fan watching those 2 pitch through September, you're probably licking your lips a little bit, getting excited about it. This is his age 25 season. I wish he was a year or 2 younger, but nothing's perfect. I can't write up a perfect profile for these guys and just expect them to perform. So at 25, an 11.41 K per 9 at the major league level, sign me up for Nick Lodolo. He's probably number 1 on my buy list, and my buy list for the Reds is pretty long. Graham Ashcraft is probably their number 3 starter, and he has rookies in 2023 Topps Series 1, and the only other cards he has are autographs in 2022 Bowman. He's an auto only. So if you do want to get in on Ashcraft, 2023 Topps Series 1 is the best target for sure. He doesn't have the strikeout potential that the other 2 have shown so far, but he does throw very hard, 97 to 99. His whip was a little high last year. I want to see him bring that down, but it was skewed by some bad, small sample size, some bad outings with a lot of walks. I think his minor league numbers were a better indication that he can get that whip down. His walks were better. His strikeouts were higher. So short stint in the majors. I'm not going to put too much stock in it, but it's a guy that people could be sleeping on because they look at that brief stint in the majors and they go, it wasn't that great. But his minor league numbers are much better. So a good and interesting number 3 in my opinion. Luke Weaver's probably their number 4 starter as of right now. This could change. I think there's anywhere from 5 to 7 guys who could win this spot. Luke Weaver, I'm just penciling in because he has major league experience, and the Reds do need someone to come in and throw innings. So 2017 Topps rookie. He spent most of last season as a reliever despite being a starter most of his career. So that could land him in the bullpen. But I think he's more of just a depth add where they just need arms who, instead of just relying on 10 rookies across 2 different levels of AAA and Major League, they do need a Major League arm there as well. I think the Reds were probably expecting Justin Dunn or Vladimir Gutierrez in this spot, but both of those guys are injured and unlikely to pitch, relatively soon. They're going to have to build up. Honestly, Luke Weaver, as far as a depth add goes, he's not all that durable. He missed time almost every season except 2018. That was his best season. He's 29, so he could still provide value if he's healthy, but as long as he stays healthy, he's just a guy who's going to throw them innings. He has had some success if you check out his numbers. Nothing too crazy, but a guy that they're clearly just a holdover for now. He's on a 1-year deal and a cheap deal. I think it's like $2 million or something like that. Luis Cessa, I have slotted in the 5th hole. I don't like putting him here. I don't want him to win the 5 spot. I want it to be Brandon Williamson. But I'm just trying to predict what I think the Reds will do, and this is what Roster Resource confirmed, is they think he'll be the 5th starter. I think if you ask me again in 2 weeks, the 4 and 5 could both be changed, and I wouldn't even flinch. Cess is entering his age 31 season, 2016 Topps Update rookie. Mixed results across starting and relieving. I'm not going to go anything, nothing points to a career breakout. I'm not going to go too crazy over Cessa. And pitching in Cincinnati is going to be very hard. Great American Ballpark, yields a lot of home runs, second most in baseball behind Colorado because it's so small. A casual fly ball will jump out of there. Which brings me to Brandon Williamson. He is the 2019 Bowman draft class again. Stunning, I know. He's a interesting pitcher. He came over in that 2021 trade with Winker and Suarez, and in 2021, he was probably the headliner of that trade. He was having a really good season, striking out a lot of batters, keeping his walk rate down. And then when he came over to Cincinnati, he took a step backwards. His 2022 was not good, and I wish I could figure out exactly what that was, but I don't know. Everything looked okay. His strikeouts were down, his walks were up, but he still had all the tools and all the pitches looked okay. So I think this spring is very important for him. He's had a good spring so far. I just looked at his start. He pitched today, actually, and it wasn't that good, but overall, his spring has been fine, so I would like to see him at least get some Major League starts this year. I'm assuming anywhere from 15 to 20. If he gets more than that, that means he's pitching really well. And just small interesting fact, his 2019 Bowman Draft Superfractors, both the auto version and non-auto version, are on eBay right now. I'll probably drop those into the description because I don't play at that end of the pool. It's a little too deep for me. But the Superfractor auto is only $1,000 and the non-auto is $500. And for a guy who I think still has a lot of potential at the Major League level, I'm not saying buy those, but I think they could go up in value if he hits his projections moving forward. 7th guy who, again, we could see at the Major League level, Levi Stout. He's another 25-year-old pitcher, another guy who came over from Seattle. Very young. This is, I think, between Cessa and Weaver, who are 29 and 31, every single guy on here is 25 or younger. So that's, just really good to see and has the potential to have 2 or 3 of these guys continue to make steps forward and really surprise people. So Stout has no cards. Average projections as far as what his fastball velocity, strikeouts, walks. I looked at his minor league numbers. I just want to put him in the interesting category for now. We'll probably make some starts at the Major League level this year, so just a guy to keep an eye on. In the 8th spot, or I'm calling him 8, is this Casey Legumina. Came over from the Twins this offseason for the Kyle Farmer trade, 1-for-1. He hasn't pitched much above A ball. He only has 73 mediocre innings at Double-A, but just another interesting name that if the Reds show the ability to develop pitchers who have good skill sets, that he's one that could just kind of slide under the radar as someone who doesn't have huge numbers, but then he hits the majors and is completely serviceable and could be a guy who finds a lot of success. I mentioned they have maybe up to 10 starters. Chase Anderson, 35 years old, could be getting another shot. He's kind of bounced around, but just a depth guy who could see some starts this year. And then Connor Phillips I threw on here. I don't think he makes the opening day roster, and he might not even make the majors this year. But he was a non-roster invitee to spring training at 21 years old. So, I think that's a good sign that the Reds are pretty high on him, and they want to see what he could do versus some major league hitters in spring training. So, Connor Phillips, just a guy who, again, I'm just going to keep my eyes on. I have so many highlighted names on this sheet for the Reds. I mean, this is just pitchers so far. I have a ton of hitters, too. This is going to be a team that throughout the entire season will be interesting to watch because there's going to be a lot of movement. Last year, we saw the Guardians have 17 major league debuts. I think the Reds could do something similar. We could see double digits where we're seeing pitchers pitch their first game, hitters come up who have maybe never played before, and who aren't even on people's radars, because I was looking at their top 46 prospects. Fangraphs does random numbers because they want to do everyone at the same future value. But I was looking at the level of 46 prospects. There's guys that are all at AA, AAA in the major league level ready to break in. So it's a team that could just have a ton of spot starts, a ton of guys get 15, 20, 100 at-bats, and we go, this guy's interesting. What are they going to do with him? What are they going to do with this guy? So the Reds, as far as I'm concerned, are one of the teams that I will probably try and watch the most games of, just because I want to see all these guys. They have an interesting lineup, constructed as is. Jonathan India is probably their leadoff hitter. 2021 Topps Update rookie, 2018 Bowman draft. Entering his age 26 season, he feels like the future second baseman of the Reds. He feels like the guy that they want to be there. But he is coming off an injury-ridden season and a disappointing one in addition to that. I do expect an overall baseball bounce back. What I mean by that is I expect him to have a better year than he did in 2022. Maybe not quite as high as his 2021 output, but at 270 to 280 batting average, 15 to 18 home runs. Maybe he gets 20 if everything goes right. An OPS closer to 800, which is a completely respectable number. But when I say baseball bounce back, I mean he's going to be good on the field, but I don't expect his cards to bounce back to that level we saw at the end of 2021. He kind of hit the ground running when he hit the majors, won Rookie of the Year, so he was an exciting player to see. But I don't think he is all that great. I think he's good, very, very good. Like I said, probably the second baseman of the future, but not a guy that I'm ready to buy. And if someone did buy him and thinks he's going to bounce back and his cards are going to jump again, I can't fault you at all. I totally see it. He's just not for me. In the two holes, probably Joey Votto, entering his age 39 season. That's right, 39 years old. Hopefully we get 1 to 2 more good years out of Votto. He has rookies in 2008 Topps products and then also 2002 Bowman. So going back 21 years on Votto stuff. I was looking at his player page on Baseball Reference, and he had a huge 2021 that I don't think I even noticed at the time or a lot of people talked about. In 2021, he had a 938 OPS, hit 36 home runs, and 99 RBIs. Now, some of that is being inflated by Great American Ballpark. I get it. But, that is a fantastic season. He was 37 years old then. I don't know if he could do that at 39, but his 2022 wasn't great. If we could average those two seasons and he has a fine 2023, I think they'll be happy. His 2022 season was a little rougher. He had rotator cuff surgery I want to say like end of August or middle of August and missed most of the year, and he's still working back from that. He's still working with a little bit of pain, but I do expect him to be around for opening day, and hopefully he accepts this leadership role and helps a lot of these young guys because this team is full of young potential hitters. I'll do more Votto talk in my future Hall of Fame segment. Tyler Stevenson, probably in the 3-hole, 2021 Topps rookie. This guy's numbers look really good, better than I thought when I went in, especially for a catcher. He hits above 300. Age 26 season, if he has a 300 average, 15 homers, and 70 runs, 60 RBIs, would be a fantastic output. Now, as far as catchers go, that's really good and someone that will probably draw a lot of interest from card buyers, but it's just not a guy for me. He probably maxes out around 130 games. He's not going to DH much. He's not going to play a lot of first base because they already have players for those roles. So, if you bought Tyler Stevenson's cards and continue to buy him, and if he does well, buy them after that, I wouldn't fault you at all. I totally get it. I'm just not a catcher guy, so I feel like I'm on Shark Tank right now, but, for that reason, I am out. That's one of their go-to lines. So, Stevenson, He's a catcher. I'm just not going to get overly excited, but his numbers are very good. And obviously the Reds project him, pretty well too if they have him batting third. Not a lot of catchers bat third. I'm looking at my notes here. That's what's really fun about baseball cards. I just told you that Jonathan India, could be a very good baseball player. Tyler Stevenson could be one of the best catchers offensively in the entire league, and I see potential for their cards, but I'm not interested, and that's what's so fun about this hobby in general is that there are so many different reasons why we could buy someone, why we might buy someone, why we don't buy someone, and then even if they produce on the field, why we may not believe it. This game is just fantastic. So if you buy Tyler Stevenson, understand that I have your back, but I won't be any competition. In the 4 holes, Jake Fraley, entering his age 28 season, 2016 Bowman Draft, and one of the 2022 late season rookies. There aren't many. He was in 2020 Series 2. He could actually be very baseball good. I think Hobby Good has passed him up. He was one of my main 2022 sleeper candidates for fantasy baseball because he has a surprising speed-power combo. He got hurt last year, so we didn't get to see a full range, and hopefully this year we do. Hopefully they, essentially let him run. And he could be 2023's Brandon Drury. If you look at Drury, he had an absolute monster year in 2022, full-on breakout, better than anything we'd ever seen, 2 times better than any Brandon Drury we'd ever seen. And he got traded midseason to the Padres. Fraley is a guy who could produce that exact thing. I think he has sneaky power, legitimately could hit 30 home runs at Great American. And a guy that, if he's performing that well, a team might overpay for him. So don't be surprised if the Reds move on from him. Not that he's not a good baseball player, but I think they have players that they would rather see more. Maybe Michael Ciani in center field, who we saw for a brief stint last year. Pretty good minor league numbers. He's right on the outskirts of their top 10 prospects. I'll cover him a little bit more too. But Fraley is a guy who, just don't be surprised if his numbers explode this year. The talent is there. I just don't know if it'll ever get realized. Injuries, playing time, whatever it might be. Will Myers, I say Will Myers because I have to. I wish they didn't sign Will Myers. He's entering his age 32 season. He's slotted to play first base. He's played corner outfield spots in his career. But as of right now, today, March 13th, he is blocking Christian Encarnacion-Strand, who is the absolute darling of spring training this year. Strand is leading the league in average on-base percentage, slugging percentage, home runs, RBIs. It's crazy. I know it's spring training and we shouldn't get hyped, but it's hard not to at least notice that stuff. So Will Myers probably blocking him right now. I'll get back to Will Myers now. 2013 Topps Update rookie. He entered baseball at only 22 years old. He won Rookie of the Year in 2013. We were really excited about him, and then after that, it's been the definition of average. He's been just a guy. I looked at his career numbers, and it was just blah. I think his career WAR is 10, so that means that for a yearly output, it's right around 1. So he's just above average. I would say. He's another guy who's a mid-season trade candidate. He's probably the literal definition of mid-season trade candidate. Signed by the Reds on a 1-year deal, expecting him to just kind of be a Band-Aid to some of these future prospects. Christian Encarnacion-Strand, or CES. If I start to shorten that, it'll just be CES. Will Myers, probably not a future Red after July 31st of 2023 season, but who knows, if he has a really good spring or really good first 2 months, he could go to a contender and be at least a decent bench player for someone in a playoff run. On the 6 holes, probably TJ Friedel. He's entering his age 27th season. And if you're watching this video, you probably pulled a 2022 Topps rookie auto of Friedel. He was in every product. I seem to pull him every time I open a box of cards. So his rookies are plentiful if you would like to find some. Decent amount of speed that helped him get 28 extra base hits. He had, I think, 5 triples, 8 doubles, and 10 homers. So pretty good. He's just a platoon guy, honestly. He can play all 3 outfield spots pretty well, but he's not a guy that I see in their future plans. He's a holdover who's going to probably be a bench player most of his career. 50-50 split lefty-righty. Nothing too crazy. Kevin Newman coming in at the 7 hole. This is a guy they added in the offseason that, again, I wish they wouldn't have, but it's only because I'm selfish and I want to see the prospects up at the major league level. Newman has 2019 Topps rookies. He's a light-hitting shortstop who doesn't do enough hitting, so that's a kind of a weird definition. But he's a stopgap shortstop to the future of hopefully Elly De La Cruz or Noelvi Marte. His 2019 rookie season was actually really exciting. He had 12 homers, had a 300 average, an OBP over 350. So Newman did have some baseball hype for a second there, but he's been nowhere near that since. I wonder how much of that is, being on bad Pittsburgh teams. He was a Pittsburgh Pirate up until this point. So when you're competing on a team that is, when you're playing on a team that is just not competing at all, you have no playoff aspirations. As soon as the season starts, it's already over. I do wonder if that mentally affects players, and maybe Kevin Newman has some newfound, hope and desire with the Reds, but even then the Reds aren't likely to make a playoff push either this year or next. So it's hard to say exactly what's going on with Newman, but I just think he's a stopgap Band-Aid to the future. On the 8 holes, probably Will Benson. Benson has 2016 Bowman Draft rookies. He was the Indians' first-round pick in 2016. This is a trade where, in my opinion, the Guardians sent him away because they just had too many guys that were good enough or slightly better than him, where he wasn't going to have a spot, and they don't want him to just sit at AAA. So they sent him to Cincinnati for their 2022 first-round pick. So it's a trade that could work really well for both sides. He's probably going to be a 2023 Topps rookie. He already has an insert auto in Series 1, so that's usually a good indication that he'll be in Series 2. So far, Benson's having a really good spring. He's an extremely fast guy with really good power. He's had multiple seasons of 20 homers in the minors. And just has all the makings for a perfect breakout candidate. He's a left-handed hitter, so I wonder if they'll let him hit left-handed pitching this season. He's probably slotted into a platoon role, but if the Reds just kind of let him eat, he's a guy who could suddenly have 2020 when we're looking at the end of the year and be a fantasy darling or maybe a card darling. He's still young enough that he could be exciting. And I looked at his stats, and I was kind of like, you know what? I kind of wish they hadn't traded him now, speaking from the Guardians' perspective. But maybe I'm blinded by him formerly being on that team. But his Bowman and first auto sell for $20. Like I said, he seems like a perfect breakout candidate. Maybe I'm being blinded by that, but I would grab an auto at $20. He does have true breakout potential. When you look for underlying value, this guy could have 30-30 in a perfect world, and Great America Ballpark is the perfect place for a player to kind of hit above expectations. He could have more doubles, more triples, more home runs than we're expecting, and the steals rules, who knows, this guy could break out, steal 30 or 40 bases. So I think Benson has just like the perfect storm of things where he could just be a guy, he could completely miss, but he could also be a guy that we're like, how did we miss him? So Benson, $20, if you got it lying around, grab a 2016 on-card auto, just in case. In the 9 hole, Spencer Steer. I have him in the 9 hole. Actually, this lineup I wish I could kind of flip around. I want to see more at-bats from Benson and Steer than I want to see Friedel, Myers, and Newman. Now, obviously, the Reds need to construct their lineup to be able to warrant lefty-righty matchups and, not just tell, hey, Will Myers, thanks for coming in. You're going to bat ninth, and we don't really care that you're here. So I get it, but I would like to see Spencer Steer bat more and bat higher in the lineup. He's another 2019 Bowman Draft guy. I will talk about this product all year long. 2023 Series 2, again, seems likely. He got a little taste of the majors last year. I was excited to take a look at him because he was one of the highly touted trade pieces that came over. One thing that I could see that if he improved on would really raise his stock is if he lifted the ball more. He hits too many ground balls, and he pops out too much. So he needs to find that sweet spot where he's barreling the ball more, hitting more line drives, or just hitting more fly balls. In Great American Ballpark, if the wind's blowing out just a little bit, a random fly ball could turn into a home run. So Spencer Steer, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, get your launch angle up just a little bit, and I really think this season could be good for you. He could get a lot of cheap home runs, so just let it go, man. Try and lift it just a touch. His career on base percentage at the minor league level is over 360. Again, that's a thing that jumps out to me all the time. I'm always looking for command with pitchers and on base percentage with batters. That means they can work a count, get some walks. He has a 2-to-1 K to walk ratio, better than 2-to-1. So that's a really good thing to see. I like Benson and Encarnacion-Strand more as far as breakout candidates go, but I'll definitely be keeping an eye on him. And when his rookies drop in 2023 Series 2, I will be definitely on the prowl for some color, some black and maybe some Mother's Day pinks to go with the Reds colors. On the Reds bench, I currently have 2 catchers listed. This is roster resource putting this together. Curt Casali, he will give Stevenson spells and is really good with pitching staffs, but he also plays a little first base. I could see them not keeping Casali at the major league level and instead going with Luke Maile, who, again, as of right now, is probably on the bench. I doubt they carry 3 catchers. But if they carry Maile, that means they probably bring on Christian Encarnacion-Strand as the first base backup guy. I don't know if they want to give Strand every day at bats. So it could be one of those where they just keep him at AAA so he can bat every day, and they keep Casali up here for first base depth along with Votto. But I just don't see why they would carry 3 catchers either. The rest of the bench is kind of just a throw together. Chad Pinder, they brought him in as some outfield depth. Stuart Fairchild, Nick Solak, happy Nick Solak, another COVID darling, and then Michael Ciani. I would like to see Ciani get every day at bat, so if he's not going to be in the starting lineup, I want him to continue to get playing time at AAA. The Reds have a very interesting roster construction. I will be following their roster announcement very closely because they have a team that there's probably 6 to 7 guys on here that I will be targeting at some point this year to buy. If any of these guys, Spencer Steer specifically, start out slow, that's when I'm going to jump on him just because I do think the talent is there. If we go to their bullpen, they have a strong closer in Alexis Diaz, and he should be the closer all year, kind of locked in. But after that, a lot of shakiness. Lucas Sims, probably their 8th inning setup guy. But then they have a lot of journeymen. Buck Farmer, Daniel Norris, Connor Overton. No one really moves the needle. I mean, it's bullpen pitchers. They really shouldn't move the needle. One interesting guy, though, is Ian Gibaut. That's spelled Gibaut. He just picked up a 6-out save for Great Britain in the World Baseball Classic. So when I was doing this, I was like, hey, I just saw that guy, and I looked him up. So Reds prospects, they have a lot of prospects, knocking on the major league door. Also a few years away, and they're deep at middle infield. So I'll go over a lot more on the Reds than I do most because a lot of them are in the top 100. A lot of them have cards, and a lot of them have interesting cards in that sense. Number 1 prospect easily is Elly De La Cruz. He's probably in the top 10 of all lists. MLB top 100, BA top 100, Keith Law's top 100, and then Fangraphs top 112, I think they did this year. He's only 21 years old and could crack the roster this year. I was predicting in October that he was going to be the opening day shortstop, but then they brought in Kevin Newman to kind of hold over. So I think that's a sign that they want Cruz to cut down on his Ks. He still strikes out a lot, but his numbers last year were ridiculous. This is only 120 games in the minors, 28 home runs, and 47 steals while batting over 300. Now, he didn't get above AA, so that's mostly single A and AA. But if we project that to 160 games, we're looking at 38 home runs and probably 60-something steals. That is absolutely nuts. I think he has 40 home run talent at the major league level. And he's a bigger guy. He's 6'6". He's still developing power. He's still, working on his body. So he's flying through the minors right now. He only has 47 games at AA, so I'm not going to get crazy excited. I don't think he cracks the opening day roster, but I understand looking at all his stats and his numbers why he's so high on a lot of prospect lists. And in my opinion, he's a guy I'm interested in buying. I'm not going to go get a gold refractor auto or anything like that, but he's definitely on my watch list. Their number 2 prospect projects very similar to Elly De La Cruz. Cruz is 6'5", 6'6". Noelvi Marte is only 6 foot. So different profile as far as like actual batting or build profile, but very similar batting profile. Ton of home runs, ton of steals. He came over from the Castillo trade. He was the heavy, baseball card name that came across 2019 Bowman products. He is also entering his age 21 season. Another really good power speed combo guy. 29th on the MLB list. He had 19 homers and 23 steals at high A last year. He moved to third base for the AFL because I think the Reds are thinking that they potentially want Cruz to play shortstop and Marte at third, but Marte's still probably 2 years away. It'll be interesting to see how he develops. If he stays at short, third, if maybe he moves to second, corner outfield. I think he could. I want to see him at corner outfield, and he projects with a very strong roster moving forward. I think he's a guy who if he continues to develop, he'll be knocking on the door sooner rather than later, and the Reds won't have an option. They'll have to find a place to play him. Edwin Arroyo is on, again, a lot of top 100 lists. Coming in like the 40 to 50 range. You might see him in the 60 range. He's 19 years old, 2021 Bowman draft. A few years away still, but if he's continues to develop well, it's someone we should be excited about. I was looking at his Fangraphs page, and it's very, very interesting. So they give grades on a scale of 20 to 80. And at the time of him being drafted, they gave him a 20 hit grade, so the lowest grade possible. Well, he has just continued to develop, hit, develop, hit. His hit tool is now a 45, so it's more than doubled. And he did the exact same thing with his power. They gave him a raw power grade of 25. He's raised that all the way to 55, and 55 future power grade is very strong. I mean, that means they truly think he can hit 25 home runs. So he's a guy who's really developed quickly, and another guy to just be super excited about on this team. Unfortunately, he's another shortstop, so that's why I was talking about potentially moving Marte. Maybe they move Arroyo. I don't know. I've got to find spots for these guys. They have more interesting prospects here a few years away. Cam Collier. He doesn't have any cards from Topps or Boma, but he is in 2022 Panini Prism Draft. He's another infielder, so again, I don't know what they're going to do with all these guys. Chase Petty is another interesting name. He came over for the Twins. He's also in 2021 Bowman Draft. He's probably a year or two away, still working on developing pitches. I would like to see him strike more guys out, but he's on the way. Matt McLean. If it wasn't for this spring training, he probably wouldn't make the video, but he's having a really good spring. 23-year-old who could see time this year. He has 2022 Bowman Chrome rookies, or first Bowmans, if you want to call them that. I think he's, getting propped up by his spring. He's not that highly rated on their prospect list, but a guy, you don't have to be high on a prospect list to be successful. So just kind of keep an eye on him, see what he continues to do this spring, see where they send him, whether it's AA, AAA, or, just out of the blue Major League roster announcement. And then Michael Ciani, I talked about him. 2018 Bowman Draft. We've already seen him have, he's released pictures of his 2023 Topps Chrome rookie auto, so he's definitely in Topps Chrome. He had a small taste last season, but he did steal 50-plus bases in 2022, so at the Major League level, he did that in the minors, but they're changing the Major League rules to match what they did in the minors. So if he's a guy who's already experienced how to take advantage of that and force steals and really force pitchers to keep an eye on him, he could steal 40 bases at the Major League level. Who knows with the stolen base rules? I don't know what to expect at the Major League level, but a guy that steals 50 in the minors will definitely get my eyebrows raised. Players to buy. I've kind of mentioned them as I go along. Spencer Steer seems undervalued, and I think, like I said, if he comes out of the gate a little slow, that's the time to move. Maybe now you can get in because he's not having that great of a spring, and Encarnacion-Strand is, so people are probably a little higher on Strand. Maybe you can sneak a couple deals. Nick Lodolo is very high on my list. Lodolo, like I said, just has that perfect profile for me and who I target. If Lodolo wasn't pitching in Cincinnati and didn't have the Great American Ballpark to compete with, I think he would be a lot higher on people's lists. He had a little bit of a back injury last year that kind of kept him sidelined. But again, same thing I mentioned with Hunter Green. When he came back, he was much better. So maybe that back thing was lingering longer than we realized. If he gets his command and walks down back to where they were in the minors, Lodolo is a guy that, very, very high ceiling. Will Benson on my buy list. I kind of talked him up already, $20 for a Bowman Chrome auto. Christian Encarnacion-Strand, we may have already missed the boat here, but I did look up his prices. A little cheaper than I expected. 2021 Bowman Draft. If you want to jump in on that, I want to say I saw Blue Refractor sell for like $50. In that same breath, an Elly De La Cruz Blue Refractor or Edwin Arroyo are both around $150. I was looking those up because I look for the traditional colors. Speaking of Elly De La Cruz, he's a target I want to buy also. His numbers are just almost too good to pass up. And for me, like I said, I'm a low stakes player. I'm targeting his 2022 Bowman Refractor. You could probably find one for $60 to $70. Those are the ones numbered out of $4.99. A lot of the ones I saw that sold or are listed right now are graded 8 or 9. I there's nothing wrong with a 9. If you want to grab a PSA 9, if he plays well and develops like he should, a PSA 9 will do just fine. So, they literally say 9 is fine, and I agree. His base auto is probably around $300 and up from there. So that's why I say I want to target something that I feel comfortable buying and holding. So a Bowman base refractor is probably where I'm at. And then also on my buy list is our Hall of Fame discussion candidate, Joey Votto. This is the first time I've done a Hall of Fame discussion where it's actually a discussion. He's right at the line. It's very interesting. I will say right now, before I give you all the stats and argument, I 100% believe Joey Votto is a Hall of Famer. I don't think he makes first ballot, but I would say in the 2 to 4 year window after he is eligible, he will be inducted. It's my personal opinion. He's won an MVP exactly once. Most times we want to see that number be a little bit higher, but what's really eye-opening about him after I looked into his numbers, he's 35th all-time in baseball history for MVP shares. So what that means, the MVP voting, you vote on first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, all the way up to 25, and shares measure how much a player received vote-wise as far as what was available. So he has finished 9 times in the top 25. So his MVP shares are pretty high. That's what gets him 35th on the list. And, he'll probably get the compiler argument or whatever. And, yeah, Hall of Famer, they're usually compiling stats. He's been just above average or good to really good, not great for a long time. 9 times in the top 25. He has 3 finishes for MVP in the top 3. He has a first, second, and third. And then he has 342 career home runs. Now, a lot of that is played in Cincinnati. So I bet if we looked at, if he played all his games at this ballpark, it'd probably be a little bit lower. But at 342 career home runs, he's almost in the top 100. I think he's 102nd all time. That number will go up this year and then continuously fall, obviously. But if he cracks the top 100 when he retires, I don't see how they could keep him out. He has a career .297 batting average. I don't think he will get that back above 300. I just don't see it. But it is very, very good. That's in a league where we're seeing batting average continuously fall. The league average continues to go down. He's a guy who was always very good at it. And in addition to being good at batting average, he's been an absolute stud at getting on base. He's led baseball in on-base percentage 7 times. The guy knows how to work a walk. He knows how to get on base. He knows how to help his team win. If we learned anything from Moneyball, a walk's as good as a hit. So 7 times he led baseball. Not in the top 5, not in the top 10. 7 times he was the number 1 player in on-base percentage. 4 years, he had an OPS over 1,000. Sign me up for that. I mean, if a guy has a 900 year or 950 year, we're talking about him in MVP discussion. So 4 years over 1,000 OPS, very, very good. He has a 64.3 career WAR. That 64.3 is very interesting because the average WAR of first baseman in the Hall of Fame right now is exactly 65. So that means he is right on par with all current first base Hall of Famers. I said he has 342 doubles. He has 342 home runs. He has 453 doubles. Again, the extra base hits nearing the 800, 900 mark. That's a really good indicator that he has a chance. In my opinion, Votto's in. He should be in. And if you want to buy and hold, get some PSA 10 rookies, throw them in the safe, bust them out in 7 to 10 years, and they should have gone up in value. Season outlook for the Reds. We get 1 to 2 more years of Votto. What's he going to do? I say he continues to produce at a pretty good level, and if he stays healthy this year, he'll be a great asset for this team and a great teammate. I really hope he helps these guys develop and just kind of has a swan song, not this year but next, where the Reds make a playoff push. The Vegas over-under on them is 65.5. I will take the over with some confidence. Most of my confidence is based in Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo. I think 20 of those wins are going to be just the two of them pitching into the 6th or 7th inning and then handing it over to Lucas Sims and Alexis Diaz, who I think, like I said, is a very good closer. I think they get there and kind of surprise people. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs by any means, but over 65.5 wins, yeah, please, give me the over. I just want to see what this rotation can do. I think it has a lot of potential with Green, Lodolo, and Ashcraft. And then also, what are they going to do mid-season? What trade pieces are they actually going to trade away? Will Kevin Newman do anything to, warrant a team wanting him? as any type of depth in their or any type of depth for their infield. So maybe the Reds can bring up De La Cruz or Marte right away. Will Myers, likely trade candidate, like I said. I'll be keeping a close eye on this team. I think there's just so much potential at almost every position and in the bullpen and in the starting rotation that will be fun to watch. So that's my Reds season preview. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I don't know how this team isn't exciting. We look at our teams, if you're a fan of the team, of course you want the team to make the playoffs every year. But when the Reds have essentially just torn apart this roster and admitted that they're not going to spend any money, you have to be real, or, you have to have real expectations. And the expectation is this team has actually done pretty good in the trades. Their front office has done a good job. One ownership has stripped them of any actual money or decision making. So the trades have been good. These players need to continue to develop. What does their minor league development system do moving forward? And, can any of these guys be true superstars? And I think that there's potential for multiple, whether it be Christian Encarnacion-Strand, Elly De La Cruz, potentially Will Benson. There's just a lot of exciting players on this team. Like I said, even the guys here, you could be watching a Hall of Famer in Joey Votto. Jonathan India is exciting. Tyler Stevenson might be one of the best catchers in the league. So I want to temper expectations because they are still young and still a lot of question marks all over the field. But they're a team that when they're on, I will be watching. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I mentioned at the end of the White Sox video, this is so fun for me to make. It does take a lot of time and a lot of effort, but I will continue to make these even with the 20 to 40 watches they're getting right now. What this has helped me do is develop, a little bit of camera work, a little bit of breath work, because I am noticing I'm running out of breath because I'm so excited I'm talking fast. So this will be a really good learning tool, and hopefully continue to do this year and make these yearly. If you like the video, toss me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Drop me in the comments the Reds player you're most excited about. I would love to talk about them. I'm going to keep an eye on so many different players on this roster. But hopefully, you watch this video, the next one, and all the rest following. We'll see you next time.